Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network. The broadcast shows are for informational and entertainment purposes only. They are not designed to provide listeners with specific personal, medical, or counseling advice. Individuals with a medical issue should always consult their healthcare provider. MS&Me is not responsible for content of individual shows. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own. Enjoy the show.
I'm John Strum, and this is RealTalk MS. It's February 20th, and very often my guests on the podcast are scientists involved in cutting-edge research, hoping to unravel the riddle of multiple sclerosis. And while we keep an eye on breakthroughs and discoveries that move us closer to that goal, it's also important to remember that people living with MS need help today, and some of them need help with even the most basic, everyday sorts of daily living tasks. Well, my guests today are Angela Lett, the Interim Executive Director, and Allison Payne, the Director of Monkey Care at Helping Hands. And yes, I said Allison is the Director of Monkey Care, because Helping Hands is a nonprofit organization that helps adults with spinal cord injuries, muscular dystrophy, multiple sclerosis, and other mobility impairments continue to live independent and engaged lives by providing them free of charge with a highly trained capuchin monkey to live in their home and assist them with their daily tasks. But before we talk to Allison and Angela and you learn all about the 4-year monkey college that their helper monkeys all attend, there are a few other things you should know about. I've talked about this before, and I think it bears repeating. When it comes to scientific advancements, we are living in remarkable times. Technology is evolving faster than ever before in human history, and advancements in technology allow scientists to move their research forward faster. So the pace of scientific discovery is speeding ahead like it never has. And I came across an article in the journal Nature that I would argue supports this concept very, very clearly. First, just as a quick reminder, little review, multiple sclerosis is a demyelinating disease where the myelin sheath that protects nerve fibers in the brain is destroyed. Well, researchers at MIT have used 3D printing technology to create artificial nerve fibers. And to demonstrate that these 3D printed nerve fibers have the same properties that actual nerve fibers have, scientists grew oligodendrocytes. Now, those are the cells that produce myelin. And the myelin wrapped itself around these 3D printed nerve fibers, just like it would in the real nerve fibers or axons in the brain. And so researchers can use this technology to test and discover new aspects of myelination. And this breakthrough just opens up a lot of research possibilities. It not only allows scientists to more easily study myelination and remyelination, but it will also allow them to do things like, cheaply and quickly screen large panels of drugs aimed at remyelination before taking the next step to costly and time-consuming clinical trials. So this is a perfect case for how advancements in technology lead to advancements in scientific capability, which may very well lead to breakthroughs in our understanding of myelination, and I think that's remarkable. While we're talking about myelin repair or remyelination, it's a good time to share one of my biggest takeaways from this year's recent ACTRIMS forum. Now, ACTRIMS is an acronym that stands for the America's Committee for Treatment and Research in Multiple Sclerosis, and just a few weeks ago, this year's ACTRIMS forum attracted around 1,000 scientific researchers to San Diego. It was my honor to moderate a panel of renowned MS researchers at a National MS Society event, and one of the panelists was Dr. Robin Franklin from Cambridge University. Oh, I should also mention that during the ACTRIMS Forum, Dr. Franklin was named this year's recipient of the highly prestigious Barancik Prize for Innovation in MS Research. And at ACTRIMS, Dr. Franklin gave a fascinating overview of his research, which looked at how aging gradually reduced the brain's ability to regenerate myelin that's been damaged by MS, and what might be done to offset the effects of aging on remyelination. So, Dr. Franklin and his team surgically connected young lab rats with old lab rats so that they shared the same circulatory system, which may sound a little scary, but the researchers discovered the blood from the young rats allowed the brains in the old rats to heal just like the brains in the young rats. Well, this led the researchers to want to understand what it was about the blood in the young rats that improved this healing process, and they discovered that the blood from the younger rats contained immune cleanup cells called macrophages that cleared away debris from myelin damage in the brains of the older rats. And once this debris had been cleared away, stem cells in the brain regenerated new myelin to wrap around the nerve fibers where previously the myelin had been destroyed. So this outcome demonstrated a couple of important things. It proved that the debris from myelin damage itself interferes with the ability of the nerve fibers in our brains to repair themselves. And it also demonstrated that there is an age-related reduction in our ability to clean up this myelin debris. For some reason, those cleanup cells or macrophages lose their efficiency as we age. Oh, and Dr. Franklin's team also discovered that when older rats were put on a reduced calorie diet, they were able to regenerate myelin almost as well as the young rats. But we all know that staying on a diet is really hard. So Dr. Franklin's team is looking at how this phenomenon can be turned into a medicine that will replicate those same effects. And they may have found an already existing medicine that does that. So we'll keep a close watch on the progress Dr. Robin Franklin continues to make in his exploration of aging and myelination. There's good news for people living with progressive MS in Canada. Last week, Ocrevus became the first drug therapy approved by Health Canada for treating primary progressive MS. With this approval, Canada joins Europe and the United States in approving Ocrevus for treating progressive multiple sclerosis. And there may be more encouraging research news for people living with progressive MS. A group of Canadian scientists have screened 249 medications which are already in use to treat other diseases to see if any of these drugs might also be effective in treating progressive MS. Now, this practice of using a known drug to treat a different disease is known as drug repurposing. And the advantage of drug repurposing is that the drug being tested has already passed clinical safety tests, and that can speed up clinical trials and the regulatory approval process. And in this study, the researchers found one drug, the antidepressant clomipramine, which is commercially known as anafranil, was effective in reducing the effects of progressive MS in laboratory mice that had been given a disease that very closely resembles multiple sclerosis. Now, hopefully, we'll soon see this research lead to human clinical trials, and perhaps another progressive multiple sclerosis treatment may be on the horizon. At the top of the podcast, I mentioned that my guests today were Angela Lett and Allison Payne from Helping Hands. It's a nonprofit organization that provides people who are dealing with mobility impairment with some highly specialized assistance in accomplishing the everyday tasks of daily living. In a moment, we'll meet Angela and Allison, and you'll learn all about Helping Hands.
Multiple sclerosis is a progressive disease, and that means that over time, symptoms can multiply and get worse. People living with progressive MS, which is more debilitating than the relapsing form of MS, frequently find that their mobility becomes impaired. And as MS takes its course, they require assistance with some of the typical daily living tasks that most of us just take for granted. My guests today are Angela Lett and Allison Payne of Helping Hands, an organization that provides a very unique service animal to assist people living with spinal cord injury, muscular dystrophy, multiple sclerosis, and other mobility impairments. Angela and Allison, let me welcome you to the podcast.
Thanks, John. We're happy to be here. Yes, thank you for having us.
You know, a lot of my listeners may be surprised to learn that the service animal that Helping Hands provides is a capuchin monkey. Mm-hmm. So what kinds of things can these monkey helpers assist people with, and what makes them so well suited for this kind of work?
Well, the number one reason is because primates, non-human primates, monkeys and apes, have hands like we do. So when they're partnered with a person who has limited mobility in their hands, our monkeys can step in and manipulate objects in ways that that person might have problems doing. So they can do things like turn off and on light switches, push buttons on computers, bring a soft cloth up to your face and itch it if somebody has an itch on their face that they can't reach up and scratch. They can open water bottles. They can even put straws into water bottles. Really anything where you're picturing hand-eye coordination and manipulating objects, these little monkeys can help with.
That's amazing. How do these monkeys learn how to do all these tasks?
Well, Angela and I are here right now in our training facility in Boston. This is where our headquarters are. Helping Hands Monkey Helpers is a national program. We place our monkeys around the country with people who have illnesses and injuries. However, all of our training takes place here in Boston at our headquarters. We call it the Monkey College. And this is where the monkeys come to go to school. And just like school, they progress through training rooms that increase in complexity and increase in the amount of tasks that the monkey is asked to perform and how they learn. That's how we teach them.
And I just also want to add to Allison's description of the training is, as she said, they start out with very basic commands and then those expand to become more complicated tasks. And all along the way, we use positive reinforcement during their training. So those positive reinforcements are words of praise, sometimes reinforcement with a bell, just like you would with a dog, with a clicker sound, and also their very favorite treat, licks of peanut butter or hummus for some of the monkeys that don't like peanut butter. So it all progresses at the speed that the monkey can learn, and that's one of the things that's very important to us here at Helping Hands.
Yeah, it's a positive, fun experience for the monkeys, which is most important to us.
I was about to ask, how long do they go to school, understanding that it may vary from one student to another, but about how long is your training program take for them to get through?
Well, if you have a monkey who's going through the full gamut of training and learning every task, it can take about 3 to 4 years. However, we also place our monkeys with people who are paraplegics or have a lot more use of their hands, and they may only take a couple years to go through training because the tasks that they learn aren't quite as extensive as people with higher level mobility issues would need.
Is it necessary or preferable that you get monkeys at a very young age to train, or does that make any difference at all?
No, actually, we prefer our monkeys to be fully grown adults, young adults, when they come in for training. Otherwise, you've probably seen footage of baby monkeys before, jumping, running. They never kind of calm down, and we want to let them be babies and then kids while they are young. And coming into training, they need a certain amount of focus and just attention span that young animals don't have. So our monkeys are part of our program their whole life. They were bred into our program, but they don't come into actual training until they are young adults.
Well, I'm getting the sense that that's kind of a parallel to your monkey college is kind of a parallel to the college that humans go to as well.
That's why we don't call it monkey elementary school. It's monkey college. Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
So I've read that this relationship between the monkey and the person that they're helping it's really a two-way street. I mean, while the monkey is assisting someone, that monkey has to also be somewhat dependent upon that person. So can you talk a little bit about what that relationship is like and what are the requirements for placing a monkey with someone in their home?
The companionship that the monkey brings to our recipients and the partnership that they build with their recipient is just the most important part of our program. These are life-changing relationships that they establish with their recipients. And when they are placed with someone, that person does have to take on the responsibility of having this very complex, intelligent animal in their home. And so it kind of empowers this person to take responsibility for this animal. If they don't have the ability to make the animal's food or to clean up after the animal or to bathe the monkey, then they have to delegate that to somebody else in their life. So an important part of a recipient's application process is showing us who they have in their life that is in that supportive role. We want to know the applicant's personality, but we also really want to get to know the personalities of all of those people who will be in that monkey's life every day. Because it's sort of like you need that support system, just like if you were raising kids.
Sure, and as you were explaining that, I was thinking to myself, while it's great that the monkey is available to provide all of this assistance and support to someone, what is it that keeps that monkey from getting bored?
Yeah, that's very important to us. So these monkeys are placed with people who are home all day, pretty much. Obviously people are allowed to go out on social calls, on doctor's appointments, etc. But one of our guidelines for placing our monkeys is that the recipient cannot have a job outside of the home or go to school full time or anything where the monkey would be left alone for hours on hours every day. That's just not fair to an animal of this intelligence and social structure and everything. They're not like a dog or a cat where if you leave them for hours on end, they go to sleep or they sort of entertain themselves. They need constant stimulation. And so if their person that they have this strong bond with is home with them all day or for the vast majority of the days, that they are fine. They hang out with that person just like they would with a troop of monkeys.
What is the application process like? I can't help but imagine that there's probably more than a few people who are listening to us right now who are thinking to themselves, this sounds like a pretty wonderful kind of situation. What is your application process like?
The application process, as you can imagine, because we do place these monkeys in people's homes, and as Allison has mentioned, it's very different than bringing a dog or a cat into your home. So our application process is extremely thorough and can actually take a few months to get through because we want to make sure we use it as an opportunity to make sure that both the applicant and the applicant's family and caregivers have an opportunity to really know and understand and learn what it means to bring a service monkey into your home, and that they have plenty of time to ask as many questions as they may have. And it gives us the opportunity to make sure that we really know the type of environment and the wants and needs that the recipient and the recipient's family and caregivers have, so that we can make sure that it will be a successful placement. The first part of the process, and the most important, is that before people can apply, they need to be at least 1 year post-diagnosis in the case of people with MS, or post-injury for those people who have spinal cord injuries. And this is because, as many of your listeners, I'm sure, are already well aware, a diagnosis like this really means a lifestyle change. And in the first year of being diagnosed or of experiencing a life-changing injury, there is so much in your life that is changing that we have learned in our years of existence that that's not the time to introduce a service monkey into your home. We want our recipients and their families and caregivers to have worked through some of those initial issues that come up and have reached a level of stability in their new lifestyle before bringing in a monkey, which changes a lot of things. Then part of the process, there is a fairly lengthy questionnaire. Again, we want to understand the lifestyle that people are living so that it is a good placement. We do require recommendations from healthcare providers. We also require a video so that we can see the person, so that they can answer some questions live on video, and they actually give a tour of their home, because part of bringing a monkey into your home is having the appropriate space for the monkey to live in. So that's also part of this process, is just giving people time to really think about all of the questions that you have to consider when you're thinking about bringing a service monkey into your life. But we do have a licensed social worker on our staff who works as our placement specialist. And so she helps people walk through all of these steps and checks in on them and asks if they have questions anywhere during the process. We love to make placements. You know, we've actually already made our first placement of 2018, but we also recognize that sometimes the timing just isn't right, so we want to work and stay in communication with people as they go through that process. I would say some of our most successful applicants, it takes a year from the date that they first submit their application, but on average, it probably takes 2 to 3 years from the date of application to the date where they actually bring a monkey into their home. And oftentimes that is just, life experiences kind of getting in the way. And because when we first place a monkey in the home, it has to be a very concentrated amount of time to allow that bonding process to happen.
It's remarkable, everything you just said almost. It sounds exactly the same as if someone were describing a human adoption process.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they're the most wonderful animals. I'm biased, but they're the most wonderful animals ever. But they are a big responsibility. And our responsibility to these animals is to make sure that every placement home that we accept into the program, the family knows what they're getting into and is ready to accept and embrace those responsibilities. And so we really want the placement application process to be informative, not just for us, but for that family, so that when that placement happens, it's at the right time for everybody involved, including the monkey.
How many monkey helpers do you currently have assisting people in their homes?
Right now, we have approximately 25 placed all across the country. Our average placement lasts 7 to 10 years, and it ebbs and flows. In the past couple of years, we've had a number of monkeys come back to the monkey college, usually due to health issues with the recipients, unfortunately. A lot of times that just means people have to go into extended care facilities, which you can't have a monkey in those facilities. And this is what Allison was saying earlier, in that we always retain ownership of the monkeys so that they can come back to the monkey college, and we know that they will be taken care of throughout their lifetime.
Yeah, which I think is a big point to get across to people who are thinking about applying for our program. These monkeys they can live up to 40 years. And so while Helping Hands retains ownership of them for their whole life, that is really because we're giving our recipients a huge support network. These monkeys will always have access to medical care, anything they really need their whole life, because our program stands behind them for that really long life lifeline that they have.
Where can people learn more about Helping Hands?
Well, we have a wonderful website, monkeyhelpers.org, which has all sorts of information, especially for applicants. It has a whole frequently asked questions section. The initial application process is online. It's an easy to fill out form to get started. And there are tons of videos and pictures of our monkeys on the website. So the videos show everything from the monkeys in their playtime to monkeys actually working with trainers and with recipients. We have a number of videos that highlight existing recipient monkey pairs. So certainly for your listeners, people who are considering applying for a Helping Hands Monkey Helper, those would be wonderful videos for them to watch, to see some current recipients, how they interact with their monkey and the difference the monkey has made in their lives, and also some of the challenges that some of our recipients had, which I think we don't really hold back on that. And I think that that's good. Like Allison said, we always want people to understand what it means, and we want it to be a successful pairing.
I just think it's a remarkable program, and it can so open up a person who has limited options while they're at home to being able to do so much more. At the same time, they're forging a relationship that they otherwise would miss. So it sounds like a real win-win, and I appreciate all the work you do to make that possible.
Thank you.
Thank you. And John, I also just want to add, because I don't think we've specifically said it during the interview, but for your listeners, this is a very important detail. Our monkeys are provided at no cost to the recipients because of generous donors. So if anybody who listens to your podcast is concerned about the cost of bringing a monkey into their home, if this would make a difference in your life, please don't let that stop you, because fortunately, we have many people who believe in this program and believe in the daily life-changing work that these monkeys do for people, who allow us to place them free of charge.
That makes a good story a great story. So thank you for adding that very important detail. Angela Lillette and Allison Payne, I thank you so much. As I said, I think the work you're doing is amazing. I always think it's great when somebody can be in the business of changing lives. And so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity, John.
That's going to wrap up this week's episode of Real Talk MS. My name is John Strum, and we'll catch you next time.